back from the dead.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the show once again. It's a beautiful Thursday on my side, and I hope you guys had a good week. It's been a good rugby weekend the past weekend because the Stormers didn't play. Jokes. But yeah, we had some good action, we had some drama, we had some controversy in Super Rugby, which we will go over obviously. Of all the results that happened in round 6, we will be previewing round 7. I'll also touch on the Varsity Cup and the Six Nations as well as the Blitzbox, what they did in Vancouver. So, first up, let's recap round 6 of Super Rugby and see what happened. First up, we had the Sunwolves, who had their home game played in Australia because of the coronavirus, going down to the Brumbies by 14 points to 47. Now, I've said week in and out, I'm glad they're leaving the competition, and this week they just proved another point. At least they kept the score below 50 because they've been copying 260s in the past few weeks. And the stats don't make for good reading for them at the moment, or for that match for that matter, because position-wise, they're at less, 43%, and the Brumbies at 57. They only beat 8 defenders, and the Brumbies managed to beat 37 defenders in that match. So bad tackling by them, obviously. 5 clean breaks to the 11 of the Brumbies, 124 passes to the 184 of the Brumbies, 12 offloads to 11, so we could say it's pretty even there. 15 turnovers conceded to 13. It's not that much actually if you think about it, because it was quite an open game. And 158 tackles made by the Sunwolves, but they missed 39 of those. Ouch. And only 97 made by the Brumbies and 14 missed. So obviously the Brumbies have been doing most of the running. They had the most ball in play, ball in hand play. And yeah, I guess the result just, we knew it was going to come. We just didn't know by how much. You know, I got it wrong. I said the Brumbies by 45. They scored 47, but the Suns obviously scored 14. So yeah, cut my margin a bit there. My margin points were bad this week on Super Brew Fam. It was super, super bad. But yeah, let's go on to the next one where we saw almost one of the biggest upsets in Super Rugby this year. Crusaders managed to hold on to a Reds team that actually outscored them 4 tries to 3, but couldn't nail a single conversion. If they had managed to get, 3 of those 4 conversions, they would have won the game. They went down 20 points to 24 to Crusaders in Christchurch, and they played a beautiful game. And I see the Reds as a team that's actually starting to find their straps. Because they have been, like, since they won the championship in 2011, I think the last time in 2012, yeah, they qualified for the playoffs. And since then, they've just been in this massive slump. You know, Brad Warner at the side for 3 years now. But it seems as if his plans are starting to gel now. It's starting to come together. And it's good to see as well for this team, as well as for another one we'll be covering later on in this segment. But yeah, first with the Reds, you know, like, I actually feel sorry for those guys because they've been up against the Jaguars and they lost. They've been up against the Sharks and they lost. And now they were short with the Crusaders with a few kicks, you know. So kicking in rugby is so freaking important. But, you know, if I look at that match and I look at the stats, you know, it's one the Reds not could have won. They probably should have won it, you know, had they gotten all their kicks over. But I'm starting to see a bit of cracks. I'm starting to see a bit of trends as well. Firstly, in the Crusaders team, obviously they lost over 1,000 caps after last season. But they still managed to be the top team that everyone loves, fears, and respects. I don't love them though. But yeah, and also like they managed to keep winning. You know, they had a loss against the Chiefs, but then again it was the New Zealand derby. But for the rest of it, they've been pretty awesome actually, to be honest. And I'm starting to see these cracks in the Crusaders in New Zealand rugby, to be honest, because I watched a breakdown a couple of weeks ago, and they said there was something like a $19,000 loss in the New Zealand Rugby Union, or 19, I'm not sure, 19 something, but it was quite a few $1,000 New Zealand dollars. And I do remember a couple of years ago where the Springboks went through this similar dip where they lost sponsors. Like the All Blacks are now losing AIG after next season, which is their main sponsor. So I remember when the Springboks lost BMW and they lost ABSA and all that, you know, the brand started to crash. They were in a dark space. And I hope it doesn't happen to New Zealand rugby, to be honest, because we need them to be strong, you know, in order to compete. But in the end, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to come down to them maybe I don't know, if it comes down to their players starting to leave, their top players, let's say Bowden Barrett, Patrick Tuipulotu, they have Sam Whitelock on a sabbatical in Japan. If those guys start to leave and go overseas, and the talent in Super Rugby gets so depleted, for now they are fine. There's enough talent to actually make 4 out of the 5 teams make the playoffs in Super Rugby. But if it comes to a point in the next couple of years where they simply cannot, sustain having only that amount of players to select from because the majority of the best ones overseas, they might have to implement the 30 cap rule like South Africa did, or the Quito clause as Australia have, where you can play for the All Blacks, or in their case the Wallabies, if you only played 50 plus test. So yeah, it's only a trend. I could be very wrong about this, but I start to see some cracks and I start to see some things not going so well for New Zealand in the next few years. I could be wrong. I'm just telling what I see. I'm not criticizing anything. I'm not wishing anything bad on them. Don't get me wrong on this. But yeah, stats on that match. So yeah, basically it was 4 tries to 3 as I've mentioned. So the Reds were actually quite good in attack. But there were also a few opportunities there. I've watched that match and I thought to myself, they should have scored at the end of the first half. They didn't. I could have changed the game in their favor because they only lost by 4 points. So that would have been an extra 5 or 7. And also they had like 12 kicks out of hand, the Crusaders, compared to the Reds 16, and 190 passes to the Crusaders, 194 to the Reds, so that's pretty even. And then 131 runs to 165 of the Reds, so the Reds had more runs than the Crusaders in this match. Position wise, the Crusaders actually had less, 42% to the Reds 58, and territory 40% to 60 of to the Reds. And also clean breaks, 18 by the Crusaders and 24 clean breaks by the Reds. So that's quite interesting to see, because the Crusaders defensively are always the best team out there, one of the best teams in the competition, and to get so many line breaks against them is quite admirable. Like I said, the Reds could be onto something here, because they have had narrow losses where they were up against some very good teams like Warriors, the Sharks, who's now topping the table. And they managed to, and the only thing is like they couldn't manage to hold on to that lead and maybe build on it or protect it, and they managed to slip and lose the game. And one of the guys said, I'm not sure what it was, they're tired of being the brave side who actually does well, but they're not getting the result in the end. They actually want to start winning, and they have a good opportunity this weekend against the Bulls. So let's see what happens there. We will cover that later on as well anyway. Other stats, that's basically about it. So, up next, we had the Waratahs and the Chiefs. Now, the Waratahs lost this game 14 points to 51. But the interesting stat is that they led at halftime 14 points to 13. So they didn't score a single point while the Chiefs went riot. And it was beautiful to see how they actually went on that match. I remember Stevenson giving up, I don't even know what word to use, a freaking slick out of the back pass for Brad Weber to score. It was an offload, one of the best of the season, and the Chiefs were just on fire in that second half. I don't know what Gats told them, but it certainly worked. And stats wise, again, it's quite interesting because this shows that the Waratahs made most of the play, but the Chiefs did most of the scoring. So, passes, Waratahs made 185, and the Chiefs made 127. Runs 134 to 11 of the Chiefs. Position, the Waratahs have more ball, 60% to 40, and also they have more territory, 59 to 41. So they have all the good stats in their favor, but they couldn't make it count on the scoreboard, especially in that second half. And then 9 clean breaks to 18 of the Chiefs. Now, if you give the Chiefs any clean breaks, you might get punished 8 out of those 18 or 10 out of those 18. So, that's bound to happen. And 27 defenders beaten by the Waratahs to the 22 of the Chiefs. So, the Waratahs had the chance to say they just couldn't capitalize on it. And 9 offloads to 13 of the Chiefs. So not too much to choose there, but obviously the Chiefs offloads, when they do it, they manage to stick most of the time. 90 turnovers conceded to the 12 of the Chiefs. So those turnover balls, they will hurt you in any form, whether it's a knock-on or a breakdown turnover or a line-out steal. It's going to hurt you against a very good attacking Chiefs outfit. And then, tackle-wise, defense. So the Waratahs made 81 tackles out of 103 attempts, so 79% return for them. And the Chiefs actually made way more, believe it or not. You would think they were the running side, but as I've mentioned, the Tars made most of the play. And Chiefs made 151 tackles out of 178 with an 85% tackle completion ratio. So for the Chiefs, it was playing the stats basically. They had all the stats against them. You would actually ask yourself, how the hell did they win the match? Because if you didn't see the score, you look at the stats, you'll think that Waratahs won the game, but they were nowhere in the second half. Anyway, on to the next one. So we went to Wellington, where the Blues, this is another thing we want to talk about, by the way. They managed to beat Hurricanes 24 points to 15 in Wellington. Now, I see the Blues starting to come back in their strides again. Look, Leo McDonald, after the Tano Umanga era, he had this team for about a year and a half now. And in the first year, they didn't do well at all. They had a good few wins, but also a few bad losses. But now you're starting to see, this team actually starting to take ownership. And I've watched the breakdown last night, and they had Leo McDonald, the Blues coach, on it. And he said that, this team is all about team culture. And it's the same thing that's happening to Stormers. The guys are quite a tight-knit unit. They spend a lot of time together, said Leo McDonald. And it's starting to show, these guys play for each other. They play for their brand, for their jersey. And they've won, I think, 4 on the bounce or 4 overseas. Only had 2 losses at home. So, it's a very good thing for the Blues to come back, because they were the powerhouses in the early 90s and 2000s, and they just faded away. Last time they made the playoffs is 2011, and I have a feeling they might make the top 8 this year. So, in that case, go the Blues. I think there's a few long-suffering Blues fans out there who deserve a bit of good news. It's not good to suffer like that. And if you look at the stats for that game, so the defense and discipline, it was the thing that actually won the game for the Blues, because there was 2 yellow cards and 1 red card in that game against the Hurricanes. So at one stage, they were playing with 14 against 15, then 13 against 15, and later on, they were 12 against 15. And it was inevitable, that the Blues would win the game. They copped a massive upset. And I do think now that Hurricanes missed Beauden Barrett way more than they would actually admit, because he was the spine of that team in so many ways. And what's most impressive is the fact that Beauden Barrett isn't even playing with the Blues yet. He only started training this week. So imagine a Blues team with Beauden Barrett back in the playoffs. They could actually go on and win the damn thing. Because, if you have a decent playmaker at 10, I can't see them actually not going all the way, to be honest. They should make the semi-finals or the final. Quarters for sure. But I'm not going to go too much on about the Blues. People might think I'm a Blues supporter. I'm not. You guys can see where my heart lies. So no. But I'm happy for them that they actually made a few W's on the road, and also are good in the competition this year. It's good to see and quite refreshing as well. And then we had the Rebels up against the Lions. The Josie boys. You lost 37 points to 17, and the first time you guys lost against the Rebels in your history. So, look, the Lions, they are in a rebuilding phase. I'm not going to repeat all that again. You know what I'm talking about. And look, I honestly feel that Cash van Rooyen is out of his depth. And there was an article on bet.co.za this past week, actually I read it yesterday. They said that, that coaches in SA does tend to get a free pass. Even van Rooyen, Robbie Fleck. If you compare CVs of guys, Robert Dupree, these are all guys that only coach, like Robert only coached like Varsity Cup and College Rovers. There's no real credentials there. Robbie Fleck went from being an assistant coach at the Stormers, but not a very successful Stormers team under Asta Kutsia. And under 21 coach, I think he was, but he got the job after the Eddie Jones fiasco. And he was supposed to be there for a year until they looked for another coach, and then you can say it was a season where there was probably a bit misguided, because the Stormers didn't play the New Zealand teams. They gave Flecky a contract for 3 more years. It backfired in the end. They wanted him gone, but they couldn't pay him up because of the finances of Western Province. And the same now for Cash van Rooyen. It's a guy that's been a strength and conditioning coach. Yeah, I'm sure it's like he's very good at his job, but he's not a head coach. Where's his credentials? If you look at guys that has been there, Sean Everett, he's cut his teeth with the Sharks ranks. Same with John Dobson. And oddly enough, those are the 2 teams based in South Africa at the moment. So that does tell a story in the end. Back to that match of the Rebels and the Lions. Again, the Rebels were actually, they didn't make all the play, to be honest. They had 379 run meters to the 40 to 1 of the Lions. It was once again a match where the one team dominated the stats but didn't dominate the scoreboard, which was the Lions, obviously. 25 kicks from hands to 17. Rebels having most kicks there. 109 passes by the Rebels to 151 of the Lions. So again, they made a lot of play, but they didn't get the points. 84 runs to 124 of the Lions. And 11 offloads to 8. 8 turnovers conceded by the Rebels, but 19 by the Lions. You will be punished. You will be punished by any team if you concede any sort of turnover ball. And here's the interesting stat. The tackle percentages are very much the same actually. It's 84% to the Rebels and 80% to the Lions. But the Lions only made 97 tackles out of 121 attempts. And the Rebels made 123 tackles out of 147 attempts. So the Lions were obviously, as I said, running the ball more. They just couldn't get the points. And it's quite sad, because this has been a team that's been, for the last 4 years, finalists 3 years, and missed out on the playoffs last year. I think they finished 10th. I think 2 more wins would have done the job for them, but they are regressing, and I think they will actually rule the chances they had, in those finals. I think the best chance was when they played in Joburg and Kwagga got that red card. I do think they would have won it actually had it not happened. They show great character, but I think it's a bit too late for the Lions now to go back and actually get back to that status again. It'll be a long, and here's the word that everyone hates, rebuilding phase for them now. And then we had the Sharks up against the Jaguares. Sharks winning 33 points to 19, and not surprisingly, the Sharks look good. People always talk about the Stormers being the best SA team, but I think in the last 2 weeks after they lost to the Blues, and the Sharks being impressive on the road and coming back and winning this match, that's been a bit of talk that now they're not the best team. So the pressure's on them, I guess, this weekend against the Stormers. Top of the confidence clash for them, so it should be a good one. And stats-wise, 28 kicks from hand by the Sharks. So I think actually that their kicking game is quite strong, and people say that, or they think that they run a lot, but the same with the Crusaders, they kick a lot and they don't run that much, but they kick accurate and they get the ball back. Fundamentals, gents and ladies, fundamentals. Passes 117 against 105 in favor of the Sharks. Possession is even Stevens, 52% and 48, same with the territory. And then tackles made, it's 100 by the Sharks out of 113 attempts, so they had an 88% tackle completion rate, and 89 by the Jaguares out of 121 attempts, so 81 to them. 9 penalties conceded each, but yellow card each as well. So discipline-wise, they were actually quite even, so not too much. They say if you can keep the match under 10 penalties, you did well, so kudos to both sides for doing that. But other than that, the Sharks deserve this win. They deserve to be top of the lock at the moment. And maybe they can get in the quarters. Well, I think they will get into the quarters, but maybe make the semis or even possibly the final, and maybe get the long last win they haven't had in 6 attempts in finals. Yeah, but we'll see what happens against the Stormers this weekend. Up next, we had the first wins for the Bulls. You boys must be so damn happy, eh? 38-13 against the Highlanders. Jeez, what happened to the Highlanders though? Oscar Speckman getting a hat-trick. Well done, Speckies. Good on you. And they outscored them 6 tries to 1. That's quite a remarkable stat, scoring New Zealand team out by 5 tries. Pretty good, boys. Pretty good. Passes 159 to 101 in favor of the Bulls, obviously. And then 130 runs to 87. So this is a game where the Bulls dominate the stats and the scoreboard. And then also even Stevens, 64% territory and position, and 36% to the Highlanders. And then the lineouts were actually crucial. The Bulls historically, they pride themselves on set piece with Victor Matfield and Buckets and those guys. 2 new locks in, 15 out of 15 lineout wins, no problem. Highlanders, 11 out of 15, not so much. So those 3 turnovers, they actually cost them as well. Any momentum they had, and it cost them points and stuff. So yeah, and then interesting enough, they both actually won 80% tackle success, but the tackles made, you calculate it obviously, the percentage if you take the numbers made and missed, but 75% out of 75 tackles, out of 94 attempts by the Bulls, not a lot. And 129 made out of 162 attempts by the Highlanders. So obviously the Bulls were running rampant. This is a stat that just says, okay, this team played, this is the stats, and the stats equals the result. So yeah, welcome to the Bulls. They play I think they play the Reds this coming weekend. So I'm not sure if they can actually get one over there. Like I said, the Reds start to look like a team that's starting to gel, and that makes them dangerous, going into the season. They might be in a bump in the road for some bigger teams as well. They maybe look to get 4 or 5 points against them, but then have to settle for a lower lock position. But yeah, and and then obviously on Monday we had the Varsity Cup. So it was quite tight. I think no one saw Marty's, struggling that much against UCT. It wasn't a good game to watch, honestly. It was very scrappy, a lot of knock-ons, a lot of mistakes, but it was a typical derby. It wasn't one-sided. 7 points to 8 and a bit of controversy. I want you guys to actually let me know what you think, because there's been a penalty advantage to UCT on the attack in the Marty's half. I think it was about 15-20 meters in from touch, more or less. On the left side of the field, and basically I think Ike's attacked, and I think they went through like 10-15 phases, and then Amy Barrett on the referee on the day called advantage over, and then they went for a few more phases, and then Marie Hudson attempted an intercept, but then also the UCT guys also touched the ball and went for a knock on. And the game was done. And UCT guys went up to the referee and said to her, listen, what about the advantage? We still had the penalty. And she said to them, look, advantage over. Now, as far as I understand the law, I'm no expert, obviously. I just talk rubbish in front of a camera with you guys. But it's called territorial advantage. So when a team gets a penalty advantage, it means they have to territorially get advantage out of that, or maybe score from it, anything like that. But they were making, like I said, 10-15 phases, not sure how much it was, but more or less there. But they went 10 meters backwards on attack, because the Marty's defense was quite good with their forwards. And I feel that, after a while, Amy should have just said, look, no advantage, come back for a penalty, make a decision. Go for the corner, go for a line out. But, not for a line out, for the kick and goal. But what I'm trying to say is that, Amy probably denied them a chance to actually kick and goal and win the match and cause a famous upset, on the Donny Craven Stadium. Because Marty's only lost since the inception of the competition in 2000 and when was that? I think in 2004. It's a long time ago. But anyway, since the inception of the competition a good couple of years ago, basically like they denied them a probable win at the Donny Craven Stadium. So I feel the Ikeys will feel a bit aggrieved with that, and they are now down on the lock, not down, but they're still in the top 4. And March took top spot with that win with the game in hand. And other results are CUT beating UWC 47-10, so UWs, they might be fighting for relegation if they go on like this. Wits causing the upset and also helping Marty's in the end, 16 points to 10 against Tucks. Shimlers, there's a bit of controversy here, by the way, actually beating UJ 26 points to 25. There was, I think, a UJ try that was a 9-pointer, and there was a bit of confusion as to which sort of try it was the 7-pointer or 9-pointer, and they thought UJ won. Turns out there was an appeal, and then Shimlers won the game. And someone said, I think it was Rugby on Twitter, he said that I think it was him. But anyway, if you're watching, sorry dude, if it wasn't you, but he said that why don't we just go back to the normal rules, just like, or the normal laws, just go back to tries, 5 points, conversion 7, regardless of the origin of it, and just stick to the game, to what we know. It can get confusing. My buddy's dad asked me that other day as well, why did they get 7 points for a try? And I explained to him, and then he understood, but it's a law that, it gets people confused, if you don't know it. But anyway, other results, that's basically it. Like I said, Marty's on top with the game in hand, so they'll be feeling good about that. And they will take on Northwest in Potchefstroom. That will be the only live match on Supersport this weekend. Also, CUT will take on Wits. I have Wits by 8, I have Marty's by 15. Ikeys, I have them by 12 against Shimlers, and then UJ up against UWs. I'm not sure what to expect, it's a relegation battle basically, 9 and 10 on the log. Just trying to fight for survival to stay in the Varsity Cup competition. UJ, they've come close to a lot of wins, but have been on the end of a lot of defeats. I think they might snatch it, but I went very bold and went for the draw. So let's see what happens there. probably not gonna happen, but let's go for the draw on that one. The lock basically, so Martin's is top with 23 points, Turks on 22, Wits on 20, and Ike is on 20 as well. That's the top 4 Varsity Cup. And the Northwest, that's the middle tier now. They're on 13 points, but they have a game in hand, and the same for CUT. Also, just point differentiating them. And then the last few, Shimlas, UWC, UJ, they are fighting relegation, obviously. Shimlas with 8 points, UWs with 5, and UJ with 3. So I think if UWs does tend to, or does manage to get a draw or even a win, you know, they might be safer going ahead in the season, because I don't think it will get easier for UJ going on in the season as well. Okay, done with Varsity Cup. Vancouver 7's. So the Blitzboks, after their triumph in Los Angeles, they slipped up in Canada. Canada really good, by the way, on the weekend. They actually beat the Blitzboks for the third and fourth place playoff, 26 points to 19. New Zealand won it and the tournament, and they stretched their lead to 115 points on the table, and SA to 104. Fiji has 83 now, and Australia 81. Actually, top 4 for the World 7 Series. Basically, guys, I think that the Blitzboks would have loved actually to close the gap this weekend, but now they just went on with it. But there's something more important now to talk about than the World Series table at the moment. So it's obviously Olympic year, and there's a lot of media talk with this coronavirus that matches could be called off, the Olympics could be called off. And New Powell said today that basically it's hard for them to prepare for a tournament or for anything if they don't know what's going to happen. Look, basically the Singapore and Hong Kong leg is now postponed because of the coronavirus. The last few legs are in Paris and London, but also it's Europe where the virus has spread a lot as well. So will they take place? Will it be postponed? Will it be cancelled? How will it affect the Olympics games? Because the Olympic games will be cancelled as well in Tokyo. It's quite atrocious because the virus is in Asia, and it could mean a lot of repercussions, for tournaments coming up. But we hope it doesn't come down to that. It's quite sad, this virus, and I understand, people's health and safety comes first. So I'm not saying it's wrong to cancel the events, but it will be quite sad, should it happen. And that's basically all for the Blitzboks. And now we go to Six Nations. So obviously I think it was the Italy and the Ireland match was postponed, so they didn't play. So there's only 2 matches this past weekend. England, impressive against Wales, but letting one slip with a yellow card and managed to scrape through 33 points to 30. And there was a touching incident that happened for those of you guys who saw it. I'm not sure what you make of it. So Joe Marler basically, let's say, inappropriately touched Alan Wynne Jones in the battery area. It was probably funny for some and not so much for others, but opinion is divided on it. I'm not going to go too much into it. You can let me know what you think about it though. But that happened there. Joe Marler, his response to it on Twitter was bollocks. Complete bollocks. So he doesn't give a damn. I actually think when players start to do stuff like this, they're close to retirement, then one have the last bit of fun. I think a couple of years ago, the Italian prop, Martin Giovanni, he said he's going to go on family responsibility leave. Turns out he was partying in Vegas, and not long after that he retired. So when players, I think front row forwards is a thing with, I'm going to retire, I'm going to catch on some shit and see what happens. So, I hope it's not a case of that. But, Joe Marler, he's been a bad boy all his career long, so maybe it's just one of those brain farts he had, and hopefully, he doesn't get too much of a ban for it, because I think there's a bit of funny side to it, but also a wrong side to it. Anyway. And then Scotland doing England a massive favour, beating France 28 points to 17. There was more than just handbags in there, there were hand punches. That's why the red card for France, and also the result. So the Grand Slam hopes for France is gone. England top the lock now on points difference by a mere point. I think they're on 14 points and France on 13. So that makes, if the Six Nations will go on with also the coronavirus, that makes it interesting here at the climax of who might actually win this thing. It could be a 2-horse race now, with Ireland having an outside chance. But with that, their match postponed, I don't think so as much. So we're done with Six Nations, and now we're going to go to this weekend's action. We've been waiting for this one. So let's see what I've got here. So I have the Chiefs by 5 against the Hurricanes. Look, I think the Chiefs are on a good roll again. They were brilliant against the Waratahs team, who tested them in the first 40 minutes, but as I've said in the review, they actually came out in the second half and put a masterclass performance on. Just a few notes. So Dan Coles is back for the Hurricanes, so that's a good boost for them at hooker, which means Asafa Amua is obviously relegated to the bench. And also, I wanted to mention this. I think the Hurricanes in a bit of a slump, like the Lions are now at the moment. They've lost a good few players, Bowden Batter being the main one. Lost a few good coaches in Plumtree, and they had, I think it was Chris Boyd, the initial head coach, that won the championship with them. They're on to their third head coach now in 3 or 4 years. Same with the Lions, so maybe could we see the Hurricanes going down a little bit. They'll probably make the playoffs still, still maybe make the 7th or 8th slot, but then fall out in the quarterfinals. I think the Canes are on a bit of a dip now, but it's still early days, It's only around 6 now, around 7 now, so normally from around 10 onwards, you can actually start saying, okay, this is what's going on. Around 5, you can make sort of predictions of what's going on at the moment. Then we have the Blues, up by 15 against the Lions. Interestingly, and I think also very good, is Willem Alberts. He's going to be at number 4 lock and partner Marvin Ori in the second row. And then a very good loose trio, quite dynamic and mobile in Marnus Koeman, for Mark and Achiva Daimani. So quite mobile around the park if they can actually get a good scrum going forward against the Blues. And then the centers make up is Dan Creel and Manny Russ. And also Tyron Green shifts to fullback. So interesting selection. The Blues have made a few changes. So they gave Patrick Tupoloti, the captain, a bit of a rest on All Black protocol. TJ Fayani being the captain, Oscar Satuta at number 8, and Akira Yohan is on the bench for the Blues again. Poor guy can't get your break, eh? Played well against the Stormers, but back on the bench against the Lions. So that's basically it. And then Sunwolves up against Crusaders. Look, the Crusaders made wholesale changes, I think, in the back. I think it's, what's his name again? The new kid. It's number 8, Cullen Grace, yeah. And Willie is out. He had an operation, a bowel operation. So he's going to be out, I think, for the rest of the season. It was a successful operation as well. So kudos, well done to Willie. And also, Cullen Grace at 8. Brett Cameron gets the first start of the season. And George Brits plays fullback. So obviously they said, you know what, it's only the Sunwolves. Let's rest our All Blacks, get this guys a bit of a break and get the points and go home. It is actually a home game for the Sunwolves, well, home, but they're playing it in Brisbane. So that's a neutral venue. So the Crusaders travel to Brisbane, and also the Sunwolves, so they beat in Australia to play a Japanese versus New Zealand team. So anyway. And then we have the Reds up against the Bulls. So James O'Connor is back for the Reds. And I think also if you were there last week, they might have won the game at 10, with a few kicks going over. And also Berger Orendal, the Bulls captain, is back at number 12. Tuitavaki is out with injury. And that's the only change to their starting lineup. No real changes there in that match. And then we have the big one, the afternoon, here in South Africa at least, Sharks against the Stormers. I went Sharks by 7. Sharks unchanged for this matchup, so they have the continuity going forward. It's good for them. I think they'll take this one, but not by much. Noche will be key for them. Obviously, he's former Stormer guy playing against his old teammates. Want to put up a point, and has been impressive this season so far. So they have to watch out for Sukumbuzo. He's going to be a handful for them. The Stormers made quite a few changes after they lost to the Blues 2 weeks ago and coming off a bye in round 6. So Damien Willemse is at 15, which I think is a bit of pressure from, I think, probably the outside as well, because Dabo said initially that he would play fly-off for the Stormers the entire season, but now he's back at 15 again. But I think, it's a bit of pressure tolling there. I'm not convinced on the selection, to be honest. Darren Lates plays at left wing. Sergio Peterson is on the bench. Now, look, Sergio Peterson isn't the best defender, to be honest, but he's damn good under a high ball. And I think they might have missed a trick here, because I think Bosch will test these guys as back three a lot, and I hope that Senatla is up for it, because he'll be playing on the right wing. And then Johan de Toy is at number 7, Jaco Kutsia is on the bench. Paul de Vet also as well makes a return to a Stormers jersey, so no Gottlieb similar. I wonder why though, because he was quite good when he came off the bench. And also Lucas Pretorius is on the bench as well for the Stormers, and they have a 5-3 split for the first time of the season. So yeah, I think after the loss to the Blues, they thought, nah, let's leave the 6-2. We need a bit more firepower at the back as well. And we lost a few forwards now, 3 Springbok World Cup winners, so it's a bit of a hard one for them to actually replicate what they want to do. So like I said, I'm not convinced of no selection, but yeah, maybe it pays off for the boys from the Cape, and we'll see what happens. The Jaguars, or the Aguares, whatever you want to call them, they haven't named their team as per usual, but they play on Sunday morning, 1 o'clock in South Africa, so they might name it tomorrow only. I have them by 13 up against the Highlanders in Buenos Aires. So I don't have the Highlanders team either, but look, the Highlanders, they've lost a lot of players, obviously, like the Lions have, and all other teams, that has been performing in the top as of late, but now actually struggling. Changing in coaches, they stick with their, well, I think they will stick with their dual playmaker role, with Ioane playing at 12 and not at 10. Maybe they'll change it up this weekend after another loss to the Bulls, but we'll see what happens there. But I'll stick with Aguares with 13. And then we have the Brumbies with 10, or I have them by 10 at least, against the Waratahs, so Aussie Derby. Yeah, that's what I feel about it anyway. But yeah, I have them by 10 there, and the Waratahs were atrocious. I don't think the Brumbies will lose it home to them, but a lot of strange things have happened. But I think the Brumbies actually topple them as well. That game is being played on Sunday morning in Australia, or Sunday evening, I guess, and Sunday morning in South Africa, obviously, the broadcast time here. So yeah, no teams available for that as well. We have to see what happens there, but keep your eye out on social media, and do check it out. But yeah, from my side, guys, thanks a lot again for tuning in. It's been good being here again, covering some good ruggers for the week that's gone and the week that's coming up. Yeah, I might be back on Sunday, or I might be back on Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, you guys keep warm, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.